Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now on with the show.
Welcome to 221B Baker Street by way of the Southgate Bridge. I am Sherlock Holmes. This is my colleague, Dr. Watson. Actually, I'm your host, Zachary here, and while she is not Watson, she is the Watson to my Holmes, Kristen Deere.
Hello?
And she's going to do the whole show in that voice.
That's how people from Olympus say it. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry! You know the name of the episode?
Yes, the View From Olympus.
Okay. Zeus and all that.
It is this time we realized that Kristen had lost her mind.
Yes. Well, I thought you already knew that. What, you're just now catching on?
Yes, but I wasn't sure if we have any new listeners that didn't know that you're crazy. So, we of course start right off with the sex blanket.
Yes. And it's hilarious that Joan just endured freezing cold and even considered opening her office when Sherlock springs the sex blanket on her.
And it is kind of weird to think about the fact that, like, when he's going to have sex on the floor, he always uses that, like, bearskin looking thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine if the women ever found out, like, wait a minute, you used that with everybody? You cleaned that, right?
Yeah, disinfected it really well.
And he's had more than one woman at once in that thing, as we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like that at least Sherlock, you know, telling her after the fact, already booked her a nice room.
Oh, yeah, and then him clearing the room, cleaning up so they don't break anything, apparently, because you're going to have such acrobatic sex.
And a few days, she must really be something. And then he verifies it with that spiel about how they spread out to the point where he has to clean up.
What I like is when he says it's like a service for her.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yes, it's a kind of enjoyable for me, but I'm mostly doing it for her because I know she'll be stressed out.
Sherlock.
I would love to be able to get away with saying that about a woman.
Which you never would.
No,
Nobody would.
No, man. I mean, you'd have to be like really, really something, and that's still rare to be able to go, oh, yeah, she's having, I'm doing it for her. Uh-huh. So,
actually, the only reason he would get away with it is because he's so weird.
That's what I'm talking
okay,
about.
that's just...
No, not weird. The only reason he get away with it is because he's freaking Johnny Lee Miller.
Yeah.
That guy can just go, yeah, I was married to Angelina Jolie. Oh, okay. That's really all he just needs to say. He just can look at someone and go, Angelina, and someone can just go, okay.
Well, and Sherlock. Sherlock is also special. He has a beautiful mind.
I don't think she's coming over to examine his mind.
No, I mean, the weirdness. Yeah. That's why he gets away with it.
Yeah. But, then, so we go...
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, the whole thing, mixing pleasure and irregular, actually sounds like fun if you switch those two words. Irregular pleasure.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry.
Is that the new name for the podcast?
Well, not the whole podcast.
Well, actually, yes, that's going to be a special corner with Kristen's irregular pleasure.
Okay, come on now. Let's not go overboard.
That's the full name of it. Going Overboard with Kristen's Irregular You started it!
Stop it!
So you're telling me to stop the irregular pleasure. So you're saying you can't handle the irregular...
Okay. That's enough.
Kristen started the irregular pleasure, but she can't finish it. Oh God! If you have your own irregular pleasure jokes, please email the show.
We're still stuck in the first 5 minutes here.
You started it. Okay, well, fine. Then we have the murder.
Yes.
Of the Uber. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the Zeus driver.
Yeah, and that ramming with the car has to be a horrible way to go. I had to look away. Actually, it was very uncomfortable.
It was pretty cool. I gotta admit, the effects of it were pretty good. Although I gotta admit, that guy doesn't have the best reaction time, doesn't he?
No.
It's like, know what it's like? It was like that scene in Austin Powers with the steamroller.
Yeah.
No!
Yeah.
It's like, move, dude! But yeah, he gets crushed by the,
car. The cab.
Yeah.
Old cab.
Yeah. And after that quickly we get scene which we see Sherlock out. She's actually played by Anastasia Griffith, she's known for the show Copper, which makes the second actor from Copper they've had on the show.
I was gonna say that actually, and it's nice to see yet another Copper alum. But I knew something bad had to happen though, because she played such a horrible, evil bitch on Copper. But Alfredo's Copper character was awesome, as he is in Elementary.
He doesn't respond to tweets, but yeah, he's awesome. He said in his tweet, "I'd love to come on the show," and then I never heard from him again.
Oh,
that happens a lot. Though the stars be like, "Yeah, I can't wait to come on," then nothing.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, let's just wait till I'm famous, and then I'll still have him on the show because I'm not stupid. So we get the examination of the scene. I wonder if this is actually ever obviously not a murder. I wonder if taxi cab drivers and like Uber drivers have ever like gotten in a fist fight and stuff.
Well, I know they're definitely angry with each other. I mean, they're really kind of down on Uber in this episode. Through Zeus. You know.
I still haven't tried one of those rideshare things. Have you?
No. I mean, I think it's a great idea, but I don't have a use for it, you know.
I don't live in a big city yet, so I don't have a use for it yet. Yeah. So we have Sherlock examining the throw-up. Oh, getting there a little late, too.
Oh, and also, I agree with Sherlock on how words with one...
Oh, yes, I tweeted that. I agree with him.
I mean, it bugs me the same way that, you know, nuclear instead of nuclear and realtor instead of realtor bug me. You know, with
they addressed realtor in the show Justified one time. How about library and library?
Oh, God, stop it. I don't even like hearing it. Or even Arsco.
Oh, wait. You know what one you hate? People who
no
use
R there.
How about people who use irregardless?
Oh, that's horrible. Stop it. It's painful to my ears.
Oh, I bet you're one of those people that hates when people use the letter U in text speak.
No, well, that doesn't bother me. The thing that bugs me is actually, you know, just mangling real words in a horrible way. Like, I mean, if you use the letter U, you know what it's like an abbreviation, you know. But when you take a word and just change it and in like a really annoying way. I don't know. There's a difference.
You must love the new trend of people using the word "bay."
I'm sorry, what?
The new trend of people using the word "bay."
Oh, I hate that. Yes.
You know that means crap in Danish,
it's just
right?
Annoying.
In the Danish in Danish it means crap.
And I'm half Danish. I didn't even know that.
I could be getting the nationality wrong, but I think it's somewhere like that. So, okay, they investigate the crime scene. They see there's pure throw up. I do like how he said he's like, oh, you can identify the brand by and he's like, oh, and I found a bottle over there. I wish Love Bell would go, oh, really?
Actually, but you know what? Actually, even right before that, I love how Sherlock has a knack for dancing through a crime scene.
Yeah, what the heck was
I like his
that?
little murder ballet in this one. He like flips
You know what
his
it made me
legs
think of?
around. He's so light on his
It made me,
feet.
it made me think of American Psycho with when he's dancing around with the axe.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it as disturbing. But on this, I think it's just funny.
I think everyone should rewatch that scene on mute.
Yeah. I like Bell's gesture, to get a swab of that, and the way he gestures at it, like he's saying that nastiness with his hands.
Mm. So they do a brief talk about how the drivers of the rideshare and cabbies like have fought each other, but there's never been like a fatality.
Right.
So they go in to check them, and they go in the cab company, check they don't think it's an official cab. The guy says even though that like real cab drivers, they wouldn't care because they get plenty of fares from the company. So what you want is an independent, which brings them to the NYPD garage. Sherlock uses his now you must be very happy this episode because there's a good amount of clues in this episode. With that bumper strip leads them to think it's an older model. It's got to be a retired model.
Right. So it's not active. Right. Yeah, because there were only 5 active ones of that model, but none of them had a problem. So, and then the fact that it was at the start of the Zeus driver's shift. It was easier to get him at the start of his shift, so it was probably for a different reason.
And then we have Joan run to one of Sherlock's paramour. And I love how I don't know why, but I like how nice she is. She's like, I can't believe Sherlock kicked you out, so we can have like she felt bad about it.
Yeah, that was cute.
They had a good moment. I like them. I obviously won't see her again, but now that, of course, Copper's sadly been canceled, I wouldn't mind seeing this actress and other stuff. But we will see. And then and I love how like Watson immediately assumes it's that Sherlock that she's fallen in love with him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love how well, first of all, I love how Joan knows instantly that Sherlock is hiding from her just because he's in the office. And I love how she calls it my office. And then,
well, that's her. It's not just her office. That's her. She's living down there, right? It's her apartment too.
I don't think so. I think it's just her office where she works.
No,
she said that she has to get out of the house to go to work, so it separates where she lives.
No, that's because she nailed it used to be the basement. Remember, she nailed the door shut. That's why she has to go outside.
Right, but she said something about how it separates her work life from her home life. Like, it separates her where she lives and works. She said something about that.
I think she lives down there, but
I don't know. But yeah, I like how he like immediately changes the subject, but then that's even more proof that he's hiding. And then her Jones.
I love how she sees right.
Is just fabulous.
Oh yeah, she sees right through him. There's no fooling her. She knows why he's down there. And he can't just say she wants me to have a child with her. He's got to say she wants my issue. She wants me to donate genetic material to her uterus.
The whole conversation, it takes you on a little trip there. Oh yes, a donation. Oh, to so what did she say? A donation to what?
Like
some kind of charity.
Yeah. And he just says to her.
But I love how Joan, when she thinks she knows something and she just goes on and on, and then Sherlock has to stop her, especially when it's something shocking, because then the look on her face is so funny.
So eventually, Belle managed to track down the cab, and when they tried, This, again, feels like a scene that they almost put in the show but decided to edit it for time. They just say he tried to bolt out the back door.
But also, I love Sherlock being overly happy to receive that call from Belle. He's like, "Oh, yeah. Belle!" He never smiles or is happy about that, but yeah, this time.
And they have the guy who turns out to be a registered sex offender.
And he looks extra gross with the airbag rash. And those like mini cringes as he talks about like going to the schoolyard and like he knew it was wrong. And he does those little cringes and it's just it was way too realistic. It made me want to vomit. It's gross.
Oh my God! Do you know who that is? That's Buzz from Home Alone.
Oh, it is. You're right.
I just thought, hey, he looks. I wanted to see if. Oh my God! It totally is.
I didn't think of that, but. I recognized him too, and now, yeah, totally.
Because I've seen him in other stuff at this age. I just didn't think I forgot it was. Oh God, know who else he was? I don't know if you watched Supernatural, but he was a Dean cosplayer.
Oh my gosh, I do watch Supernatural, but I haven't seen it in a while. I don't.
It was the episode where they find out that.
Wait, don't tell me because I.
Oh, I don't know. Well, it depends. It's pretty far back.
What season was it?
Oh God! Well, it was when they found out. Well, it's when they first started showing angels.
Okay, then maybe I did. Maybe I did see it.
Was because they found out people LARPing as them, and he was LARPing as Dean.
Okay, but anyway, I saw that.
Okay, well, it's not the Supernatural podcast. We're going off topic. So it turns out that Buzz here. He's a sex offender, and like he did buy the cab, and then it takes an interesting twist, because it turns out he was blackmailed, because he's a sex offender, he visited a playground, he didn't do anything, but just being there was a violation of his parole.
Which means that it doesn't make sense that he tells them everything, even what he was blackmailed for, but, Well,
it does, because he's up for murder, and he did do the murder.
And he looks like he knows he's wrong. Those little cringes he gave, he played that a little too well.
I kind of wonder, like, what would he go, like, what would he go away for? Because obviously he was coerced. He'd go away for, well, a good lawyer could probably get it plead down.
Yeah, but he did commit the murder, but he didn't, he was hired to do it, basically. Not hired, but, well, blackmailed into it.
I bet he could. I'm thinking something like that could get plead down to a manslaughter charge.
Maybe, but I don't know. Like if there was a trial, I don't think people would.
No, that guy wouldn't. It would only go to trial if he fought. He's not going to fight. Yeah. But he would also testify in the case of the man we'd find out about later. So I could say manslaughter.
Probably.
He'd probably get 5. I would say 5 to 10. Or 1 to 15 or something, depending on the circumstances. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so it turns out he was being blackmailed for his actions, and they believe him instantly because they know he wouldn't have that stuff on his phone prearranged just in case he got caught.
Right.
And I'm not that surprised that the taxi was a red herring.
Yeah.
Because this show what this show does good, they'll have levels of scum, because obviously the guy, we don't feel bad for him at all.
No, he's just too disgusting.
Yeah, poor Buzz.
Poor Buzz.
And, yeah, the none of the McAllister kids have probably ended out good.
Oh man.
So they go to the the journalism hub. I don't even know what you would call it.
Internet journalism place.
Yeah. Blogger. There's or blogger journalist. There's a respectable position. So he gives the whole spiel. Everyone liked him. He wasn't working anything too hard hitting that would get him to get killed. So it's pretty much a dead end.
And she's the owner of the place, right? Is that Lydia? Okay.
Yes.
I did on the second watch. I forgot to make sure I knew who that was.
Yes, that's Mrs. Guerrero. So they're trying to figure out And we get this thing where she finds out that there's actually a crime connection to something he was interviewing. I love when he says, "Do not mistake my ability to multitask." This guy might I heard the name might be something.
Yeah.
And we get Sherlock's trying to figure out because this woman is an intelligent, rich, beautiful woman, so she could have anyone, like literally any donor, any man to father a kid with. So why him? There must be a reason why she chose him specifically.
And these were some of the best quotes here. His optimistic outlook and nostalgic fuzzies you hear me spouting about my own upbringing.
I know, kidding, right? Oh, and we mentioned something a bit interesting later because he has to say, "I am the last of the line," but we, the fans, know that's not true because Mycroft is actually alive.
But isn't he sterile or something?
No, I don't think he was sterile. He had he had leukemia. I don't know if that makes you sterile.
Maybe not sterile, but I thought there was something where maybe not. I don't know.
Well, he had to fake his death.
Okay. Why was I thinking that? Maybe I'm confusing it with something else.
I don't know. And I love how when Sherlock realizes, like, who would possibly benefit from, and he stops mid-sentence.
Yeah, right away.
He's like, and then he goes, "You should follow that lead." And the funny thing is, it actually does lead to a legitimate
It does, but it's like a kind of roundabout way that it leads to. But right. I love this Bobby character.
Oh, hell
that comment about Joan's clothes, and then that quick little, cute comment about Barrow. Oh, he was cute.
Okay, I just looked up his IMDb, and one of the things he's known for is the Big Gay Musical. That's just awesome. Okay. But
sorry.
What? What? Oh. No, it'd be more like loving it. But I did like how they didn't go stereotypical because I'm so sick of this. Oh, he's gay. He must automatically be catty and hate women. It's so cliche.
No, he was cool, and then I like how it kind of led indirectly to because he says, "Oh, he had me meet him where he lives, but then he didn't live there." And then that's where we find out that Lydia's involved.
Right. It turns out that they were actually lovers, and then we find out from her is that she was being blackmailed about it too. So there must be a connection there.
Which of course Sherlock finds quickly.
It's the Zeus app. So they go to the place, and the guys are like, "Oh, this is ridiculous. We barely know anything about our customers." I love how Sherlock goes, "Yeah, except for the fact that you know the same stuff about them that God and Santa."
Yeah, except, for him, it's Father Christmas.
Oh, yeah, of course. And I like how the reporter guy was, like, really mad about the blackmail. So he starts looking into it.
Yeah.
They go to the company and they start talking to them, trying to figure out why.
And there was a good quote there about how the lawyer may contest the invasion of privacy as too ironic.
Oh, yeah. That was good. That almost made the favorite lines. And that's another thing. I have half my notes are my favorite lines, and that says a lot for this one.
There were a lot of funny moments too in this episode.
A good mix of there was even a skosh of character development.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but a little bit.
Yeah, a tiny bit, but also there really was a mix of all different. There was the disgusting pedophile guy and then you've got this horrible murder, you've got this really horrible stuff in there, but then you've also got this really lighthearted stuff.
Right, yeah. It was a real, and it's nice seeing an episode like that.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out who might have, and trying to figure out what's the connection, how something's going on in the company, and then but then of course we get Sherlock confronting of her. What's her
Yes.
character? Abigail? Is it
No,
Abigail?
Agatha.
Agatha. Okay. About because he realizes it's his father that convinced her.
I love Sherlock's grumpy cat face while she's telling him all of his good qualities. It's priceless.
Like, even better when he says, "I'm surprised that he didn't offer to do."
Oh yeah.
Which I think is the first indication that that he's not married anymore. Because now this has been talked about with some of my other co-hosts. Do you think we will ever meet Sherlock's father?
Maybe way in the future. I don't think we'll meet him like right away. And when the show is about to end or something.
Which hopefully is a long
Yes,
ways
I hope
off.
so.
Yes, well, it is a long staple of TV shows. Although drama's not that much of a character that no one ever sees, but is mentioned a lot. I would say the one I can think of that's right off the bat would be like Maris from Frasier, Vera from Cheers.
Well, even the most popular show on TV right now, that that sitcom,
Big Bang Theory?
Yes, Big Bang Theory.
Oh, and I know who you mean, and you know that actress just died.
Yes, I know. Unfortunately, so now they can't do that anymore. But yeah,
that reminds me of actually something that happened on Suddenly Susan. The character died mid-season. Well, the actor died mid-season, so they did an episode where they couldn't find him. Like, they were a step behind him. Like, he was alive in the show still, and they were chasing him.
Oh. I'm like forgetting what show that is. It sounds so familiar. I can't.
It was with Brooke Shields in the 90s.
Oh.
She worked in a magazine, yeah. Now, and here's the thing: if they ever do have, who has the gravitas to play the father of Sherlock?
I know. I mean, they'd have to. It'll take
Charles Dance.
The whole series of to find someone.
Think of it. Charles Dance could do it. Tywin Lannister.
Who?
Charles Dance. Oh God, we need to educate. You didn't watch Game of Thrones?
No.
Oh God.
Sorry, God.
How do you not know who Charles Dance is?
See, I love sci-fi. I'm not so into fantasy.
He was in Aliens.
Oh, Aliens. Okay, well I know that.
Yeah, he was like the head prisoner or whatever. Like the one who sleeps with Ripley.
Okay. I'm not remembering though.
And I swear to God, if you recognize him from this, I'm going to be very disappointed. He was the bad guy in Last Action Hero.
I'd have to see him.
He was the bad guy in Last Action Hero.
Okay. I know the movie, but I can't remember the face.
I think I'm happy that you can't, actually.
Okay.
From that, but there's so many good British actors I would love, and I wonder if we'll ever meet I wonder if we'll ever meet Sherlock's mother.
Oh yeah.
Because he never talks about her ever.
Right.
Like I don't think he's ever really talked about her.
So we've got a mom and a dad, and then they meet and live happily ever after.
But we'll see. So they start delving into the case, trying to figure out who the blackmailer is, and they're trying to figure out people he's talked to. And this is after again with the scene where Sherlock confronts her about it's his fault. I just can't get over that part where he's like, "I'm surprised he didn't get you."
Yeah. What was the words he used? Volunteer his seed or something?
Something
along those
like
lines. It was another good line.
There's a few. Believe me, there's a few lines from this scene too that made it onto the favorite lines list. I like he even uses the words "love child." Oh, how about you're confusing procreation with masturbation?
Yes.
Oh man, it's so screwed up. I mean, the father is arranging a love child.
Weird. It's very weird.
Oh man.
for an heir.
He's acting like a king.
Yeah. It's just bizarre. Bizarro.
Well, they have to, so they can eventually have young Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah. And then if they have descendants, they can have Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century. That was an actual show.
Oh, no.
It was a cartoon in the 90s.
Oh, wait, you brought this up before.
Yes, I have. It's
Yes.
it's so. I encourage all our viewers. And I love when she's saying like, you have these gifts, you need to share them with the world, and he's just looking at her like. And by the way, now I'm never gonna look at that face like, the same again because you have to compare it to Grumpy Cat.
It is. It's exactly a Grumpy Cat face.
I like this scene with Joan setting up the connections because we've all had this happen. We have something set up a certain way, and someone says, "Listen, I know you're weird about it, but let me just set it up." And then they spend like 2 minutes with it, like, "Okay, you do it."
Oh man, no, but Sherlock acts the way I do when someone messes with one of my computers.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
And
yeah.
I mean it. And then he fixes the nonsense as fast as I would, because my computers are the only thing that I'm like territorial and maybe even a little bit arrogant about.
Right.
And I love, that was another great line. We can sign you up for a remedial course at a senior center. Oh man, I gotta say that line to my dad someday. That was great.
It made me think of something that happened. It's happened my whole life. Like, 'cause of course, like me, I'm a TV guy, so I know what's on when and who's gonna like what. So I'll be watching something on TV, and someone will walk in and be like, they'll be like, "Oh my God, you're always like taking over the TV, always doing this and that and the other thing." I'm like, "Okay, you here's the remote," and they'll take the remote, flip around the channels, realize there's nothing on, and give the remote right back to me.
Oh, you know what? You just reminded me of this time I visited a friend of a friend, okay? We like went to her house to watch some kind of DVD. I can't remember what it was all about. But she couldn't get the TV working, and I spent like 2 sets. She worked all day on it too. She worked all day trying to get the TV working, and she's like, "I'm sorry, we can't watch it. I can't get it working." And I spent like 2 minutes on it and got it all working. She's like, "How did you do that?" But I mean, I work with computers, so it's like, but it was just funny.
Yeah, it's funny when you fix something in 5 minutes and someone else took all day on it. So from there they get a call. It turns out a sister of one of the programmers was talked to by the murder victim, and that the police and eventually we find out Sherlock and Watson both agree that the murder of him is completely unrelated because it wasn't an intended murder but they found out by going to his computer that he was in fact the blackmailer.
Right.
But his killing was unrelated to because of course he was killed before his
and it was
murder.
over gambling debts.
By the way, can I just say, I know it's only 3 weeks, but an apartment in New York, yeah, he would have had them move. I don't care if he got killed. He would have had his stuff moved
Yeah.
out. I mean, that looked like a decent apartment, and in New York, come on.
Definitely.
But it turns out he's a guy who watched a lot of basketball. It turned out he was which Sherlock's because he has no basketball memorabilia, and he's missing several personal items, leads Sherlock to deduce that he is a degenerate gambler. So that's probably what the killing led to.
Right.
So from there, Sherlock decides to look at all the footage. He spends the whole night.
I love that he can look at all the Zeus data all at once.
Well, there are people like that can and I wish I could do that. I wish I had a mind like that. But I like how he figured it out early on at night, but he just wanted to watch everybody.
But it's a good thing he's one of the good guys. He could blackmail everyone.
Right. That'd be that we know that's what Moriarty is, like the alternate, that's what Holmes could be like. That's an interesting point I'll bring up in a few minutes. But okay, so Holmes figures out that it's actually they go back to Zeus and they tracked the movements of everyone, and because they found out people who went to police station, they narrowed down the list of people who like work with the police, and then which cases were, and then they realized one of the women was being stalked, and they realized the person who could only have known that if they were tracking their Zeus account, and so when they said to him when they go to track his movements, it turns out he does not use Zeus, which is in and itself a red flag. And so they and he is like, he's got such a guilty face. He's like, it's like, what
Deer
does
in
that
headlights.
mean? Oh, big time. And it turns out they're gonna have him in a lineup, and there you go. I love when how about when he writes on the board?
Oh yes, and the guy freaks out, and then he's like, okay, nothing I can do about it now. And Sherlock is just brazen about it, like, oh yeah, I hate this place. Screech.
Yep. Although I'm curious of why that marker was there.
Yeah. Hope it was a Sharpie.
What? I don't know. I don't know if that, because I've seen that kind of marker before. That's like the big one you see in like for big dry erase boards and that kind of thing. But still, it's like, why is it right there in front of the screen? Wouldn't they have one of those things where you can?
Well, actually, it looks kind of like one of those things where you can bring down a screen, or you can bring down a whiteboard over on top of it.
Right. So obviously we know he's the guy, and they get him. Then we got this great scene. I like how she's like, well, if you're meeting me here instead of a room, I'm guessing you're not impregnating me the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
And he's got this great thing, which we've touched upon we've touched upon the show many times, like, that people don't understand that Sherlock does it because he can't not.
Right. There's just too much stuff going on up in that brain of his.
Right, exactly. And he would never wish that on another human being, which in my opinion shows a bit of caring.
Yeah, I know. That's the... And then also the final scene. Yeah. We see another glimmer right there.
Oh, that was so good.
I love her.
That was so...
the offer of ice cream.
She's like, do you want ice cream? He's like, do you want to be left? And he goes, what kind of ice cream?
Yeah. I mean, it's just another glimmer that he's a bit human after all.
Right. So all in all, a good episode, I'd say.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, but before that, we will talk now for everyone's favorite part of the show, where I don't talk for at least a good 10 minutes. That's right. It is time, my friends, my regulars, for Kristen's Clue Cap.
So the crime this week was the murder of Galen Barrow, and the first clue is that the victim, Barrow, drove for a ride-sharing company called Zeus, and at the scene of the crime they find a puddle of puke filled with gin coming from a bottle that had been thrown out farther down the road, and then they also find paint from yellow paint from a cab that had rubbed off on the victim's car, the Zeus driver's car. And then the next clue was Sherlock found the piece of the cab's bumper, indicating that it was an old out-of-service cab. Plus, the killer got the Barrow at the start of his Zeus shift, so they figure that the murder was for a reason other than cabbie revenge on a Zeus driver. And then they find that the Zeus driver, Barrow, was an internet journalist. Okay. And then they find the pedophile, Gordon Meadows, and he's got the rash from an airbag, and he basically confesses to everything at that point. But even though he's the murderer, he was blackmailed over a burner phone. And so then they find that Barrow asked someone, a fashion designer, to his neck of the woods for an interview, but then they realize that it's not his place, it's Lydia's, and she's the one who runs the internet site where Barrow worked, okay? And so then, Lydia says that she was also blackmailed via burner, she was also blackmailed through over a burner phone. Okay, so, and then both Gordon, the pedophile Gordon, and Lydia used Zeus Okay, so that indicates that one of Zeus's employees may be the blackmailer and killer. Okay, so then one of the programmers at Zeus, they find that one of the programmers was murdered, okay? And his computer files show that he was the blackmailer, but he was killed before Barrows was killed, so he couldn't be the killer. And then also they find clues of gambling debts, okay, and also he almost lived. He almost survived the attempt on his life, supposedly. I mean, it wasn't the attack on him wasn't even meant to kill him. He just wasn't lucky, and so obviously, so the deaths weren't connected. The death of Kemp, the programmer Kemp, and of Barrow weren't connected, but obviously Kemp was connected to the case in another way because he was the blackmailer. Okay, so then Sherlock sees clues in the patterns of the Zeus drivers by looking at them all at once through their app, basically. Well, not through the app, but through their data feed. And he sees that many of the clients used Zeus, well, not many, but 35 or 6, something like that, used Zeus to go to the police. One of those clients had a stalker who always seemed to know where she was, which means that it was probably another one of the Zeus employees. And her description is enough to point to one of the Zeus employees that they had met earlier. And so at that point, they're pretty sure that they know he did it, and they're going to put him in a lineup and all that. So hopefully in this little pretend world of Elementary, they catch him and he goes away for it. Well, they've caught him already, but hopefully he goes away forever. So that's it for the clue cap.
All right, that was a pretty full one. There was plenty of clues in this week's episode.
Yes, there was.
And now I think I'll do, because I have so many, my favorite lines.
Yay!
Goggle Man, that Irish man with the songs. He's talking about Bono.
Yes.
Regular, irregular.
Oh, yes.
The Livery War of 2015. This kind of had 2 parts. I watched it twice with closed captions, and I still understand what he's talking about. Where he says, "Do you believe they were performing Couch Quail?"
Oh, yes.
And Gregson's like, "If that means having sex, then yes."
Well, he said having an affair, but it is
right.
More sexual intercourse.
Then we get Cougar and Cub reporter.
Cougar.
And of
I
course,
forgot about that one.
Yeah, and then this is the last one I have. Fetch metal. Oh God.
Nice list.
Yeah, nice. And we'd like to remind everyone, if you want to get in touch with us, Baker Street Podcast at gmail.com, Baker Street Podcast on Facebook, and of course, Baker Street Pod on Twitter. So we shall talk about now. So what were your what were your final thoughts on this episode?
It was one of my favorites, really. I like the mix of, like we talked about earlier, I like that mix of all the different emotions and levels of weirdness and grossness, and you got like a little bit of everything in there, and a little bit of a little bit of character development, but also just learning a little more about some of Sherlock's irregulars also. Yeah, I overall liked it.
Yes, I agree that it had a mix of great things, and I would say this episode has really high rewatch value.
Yes, it definitely does.
I mean, I like the connection, like the way that like the murder had connections to a crime and another murder, but the other murder doesn't exactly connect.
Yeah.
The reason it happened was he was covering up. He didn't want the blackmailer found out because that would have led to investigation. Probably would have led to him being found out.
I mean, there were just so many little gems in here,
Definitely, indeed. And we get there was Sherlock revealing why he would never want to have kids, and really interesting if that goes somewhere,
Yeah. And then also a good amount of humor as well.
Indeed. So I would definitely, this episode, I think, is one of the best of this season.
Yeah, that's high.
High rewatch value. I had no issues with it, none.
No.
So I would give this high ratings, without a doubt.
Definitely.
So is there anything else you would like to add before we depart?
That's it.
Alrighty. We only got a few more episodes left of the season, people, but I'm sure they never really disappoint, so I cannot wait. I have a feeling something's going to happen with Moriarty. It's just a feeling I have.
Well, it's got to.
Well, we'll see. But until then, everyone, it's time for us to go, for the game is afoot.